Stephen A. Williams, president and founder of the creditrepairshop.com, and in today's video, we're going to talk about credit repair. And I wish that credit repair was like a straight arrow, like you can draw one line and to where you are at right now, and you go in a straight line to get to where you want to be with having good credit. I wish it could just be that way, but I've found with speaking to clients, I've found with my own situation, I've found with what I see people going through, that it's just not that way. And it's not that way because we are human beings. And we have this nonlinear thought process. And that nonlinear thought process is brought about by all of the information that we are exposed to on a daily basis. Information from news sources, information from family and friends, information from YouTube videos, information from newspapers, whatever. There's news and sources and information bombarding us constantly. And it makes it to where we get a little bit shifty if we're not certain or have a foundation to be able to move forward. Now, understandably, you would not be watching this video if you did not have some sort of issues with your credit and debt. And so, as I move forward with this, you have to understand and not get offended. You can't be upset. You can't have this feeling of Steve is just being repetitive about what he talks about when it comes to credit repair and getting out of debt. No, the reason why I do it is because it has to sink in. And I'm going to try all different types of strategies and techniques to get it to sink in, because most people are actually paralyzed when it comes to working on their credit and debt. They will do one thing maybe, or two things maybe, or three things maybe, and then they'll quit. And it's not because they want to quit and that they don't want to work on their credit, they don't want to get out of debt. It's because all of the things that happen to us, remember I said that it is not a straight line, that we don't go through life in a linear process. We go through life in a process of what hits us that day takes us in one direction, and then we got to get back on track. And some of the times, some people never get back on track, and some of the times it takes people a long time to get back on track. And that's why I make my videos and I repeat it over and over and over again, because it's to get people in the mindset of you're going to get off track, but you got to get back on the track. We have stories like this that are just really taking over people's consciousness and making them think a certain direction, making some people quit, making some people make horrible financial decisions in their life. I mean, horrible, like stealing. You talking about where they talk about people stealing the wealth of people? This what I'm about to tell you right now is how your wealth could be stolen from you from just listening to news reports that are out there. There was a news report, and I saw this one repeated last night. It talked about that Americans are looking at selling their homes and renting because it's cost them too much to own a home. They're talking about credit card debt is at its highest levels since whenever. And I don't know how credit card debt can't get to its highest levels when we have more and more people getting credit cards. We have teenagers that, or high schoolers graduating, becoming adults, and they can get a credit card. People graduating out of college and getting credit cards. So no matter what, credit card debt is going to go up regardless. Next thing is auto debt is at its highest. We got people that are buying cars. Now, let's look at the flip side of that. Home ownership has went up 93 basis points nationwide, from 65% 61.79% to 61.72%. Listen to this. Hedge funds are gobbling up single-family homes, and they're increasing the rents on those homes 25 to 35%. Basically, what the hedge funds are saying, we're buying the houses, and they don't even care. They'll buy the house for more than what the neighborhood valuation is. They just want to get the properties, gobble them up, and rent them out to people. And guess what? They're renting them out for more than the market rate. They're actually saying it. So you sell your house, and then you jump into a trap renting a house from someone who doesn't even give a damn about you and your family. And if you've watched my videos in the past, I tell you that owning your home is more than just the monthly payment that you're paying on your home. That's an important part of it, because that's monthly payment is building your wealth. But what about having the landlord off your back? What about not having someone come in and look and inspect your house? How about being able to do things to your house without asking for someone else's permission? That's value also. And also think about it this way too. If you were to pay payments on your house, and you're able to pay off your house and only sell it for the amount that you purchased the house for, even though you paid all that interest, that would give you more money than most people have saved for retirement right now. I'm just telling you, that is the facts. You can look that up for yourself. Also, there is something called the American Home Act that is in Congress as we speak, that is trying to put through, and I don't know if you agree on it, or if I don't even know if I agree on it, because I'm a free business type person where I want businesses to be able to do things as long as they don't do things to hurt people. But there is something called the American Home Act that would bar hedge funds from buying the properties. And that is stuck in Congress right now, has not passed. And we can only guesstimate on the reasons why, is because our Congress people are probably trying to, roll it over in their head if they should actually bar hedge funds from buying properties, or maybe they should just have some type of rule. Because when the hedge funds come through, they can come through your whole neighborhood, buy everything up, and the prices of the homes increase, which means the tax base, the taxes in that for your property would increase, because the valuation of the property would increase. But even with all of that said and done, I'm here to tell you right now, if that happens to you, you readjust and prioritize staying in your home. That would be my advice to you. And I'm not giving legal or accounting advice. I'm just telling you, it has worked out for me, and it has worked out for people that I know. I have people that come through. Also in my office, I have another company that I own where we advertise for people. And one of my biggest client bases is elderly landlords who own multiple properties throughout the city of Milwaukee, and they come in and they place ads in my digital publication to get people to rent those properties. And I've sat down with a number of them. I mean, it's too many of them to sit down with, but they come through, the ones that don't pay online. A lot of them, you wouldn't believe, a lot of them only like to pay cash. And I think they like to get out also. But they live on those rents. That's their retirement money. And they own those properties. They own those properties. And so if you look at what they actually did, they didn't listen to the stories in the past about you can't afford to buy a house. They didn't listen to none of that. They have multiple houses. And now, years later, when they're talking all this mess about properties are too high, talking about selling your house because of the rents, guess who's benefiting from it? These small investors. And this video isn't about investing. What I'm trying to get across to you is, if you own your home, you have a piece of wealth that you can build upon. Don't let anyone talk you out of it. If someone else is willing to buy it, that means that it is valuable. Don't listen to those news reports. And then to close it out with this part, before we get to the credit repair, is that auto sales are on pace for 15.8 million units for 2024. 15.8 million units. You've seen the news reports and everything saying that car sales are low, all of this stuff. Yeah, it could be lower, when I looked at, I did a video, I think about a couple of months ago, you can look that up here on YouTube, where I showed that car sales were actually up. They were up over the last months, and I didn't look up on here. I should have looked that up, but you can do that research yourself. Car sales are up. Now, it could be down at dealerships. You might have saw one of your dealerships close. Well, maybe that dealership hasn't adjusted to the way that people want to buy cars. I've mentioned in my video that my last 3 vehicles I have purchased from online, 2 of them where I didn't even get to test drive because they were thousands of miles away. But those dealerships had mechanisms in place to allow you to be able to have the vehicle test driven, to have it certified, all of that stuff. So if a car dealer is struggling now, it's because they have not transitioned to the way that people want to buy cars, because people are buying a lot of stuff right now. People are buying a lot. We like to buy. People like to spend money. But we like to spend money the way that we want to spend our money. And we buy the same stuff over and over again. Trust me, we all do it. But we want to buy it our way. So if you have a struggling business, you need to figure out how people want to buy your product or service, or you'll be in trouble. Now, let's get into how to repair your credit. One of the number one things that we run into when speaking to people about their credit, and I believe that it's because of how they've been paralyzed when they see those news reports, when they see other videos that say it doesn't matter with credit, or they watch Dave Ramsey stuff, and they talk about where you don't need to worry about having a credit score. So they remember, I said it earlier, we are not linear with our solutions. It's like this. It's all over the place. And it's the reason why it's all over the place is because we get information bombarded to us on a daily, well, on a minute, hourly, daily basis. And so, depending on that information, could take us off the track of repairing our credit and getting out of debt simply because of something that you've heard from a piece of information. It can make you think and feel a certain way. Understanding that when repairing your credit, the first thing that you need to overcome, and I've seen this time and time again, is that you need to get over the feeling of what is actually on your credit reports. I still to this day hear my sales reps, or even speaking with clients that come in, some of my consulting clients that are needing to get their credit repaired, and they are actually afraid, or they don't know what's entirely on their credit reports. They might have a free app, and they're looking on it, and they know the story. I think when they made stuff like Credit Karma and those things, they pulled a psychological trick on people. And here's a psychological trick, is that people, when it comes to seeing things that can be painful, that can remind us of things that we have done in the past to hurt ourselves with our credit and debt, we don't want to know the whole story on that. And if you look at all of the free apps that are out there, or the free credit report type stuff, Even the annual credit reports that gives you the 3 free credit reports, it does not have all the information on there. And you have to ask yourself, why don't they give you all the information? Because they know on a psychological level that you may not be ready or prepared for that, and it may stop you from utilizing the app. That's a real deal thought process. Think about it. Even if you have bad credit and you look on those free apps and you see where you're at, you don't know the whole story. And when we speak to potential clients or clients and we're trying to get them over that hump of, like, you need to get a monitoring service that's going to show you all 3 reports, all 3 scores. And the reason why you need to do that is because you need to know exactly what is on your credit reports line by line. And that goes for all of the negative information, all of the positive information, how it is placed on your credit reports. You need to know the furnishers, who placed that on there, what is their address, is all of this stuff correct? When people go through that process, they have a feeling of anxiety. And then when we finish that process, they have a feeling of accomplishment. Because it's like this I know feeling. Have you ever went through something and you were like kind of afraid? Like, think about being on a roller coaster and you're like, how's it going to feel? Because you don't know where it's going to go up and down, or you might know where it's going to go up, but you don't know how it's going to feel when it goes down. And you don't know about the turns and all of that stuff. Like, you just don't know, so you had that feeling. And when we go through the credit reports with people, it's like they're going to go on a roller coaster, and they're going to be finding out what's going on. And the thing is the roller coaster is, some of the times they think, how will that person who's going through that audit process, that review process, how do they think about them? This is like stuff that's in the back of their mind. They're like, how are they going to, I did these things. Are they going to judge me? That's how you feel. We all have those types of feelings. We want to show ourselves in the best light. We don't want to have people pull over look under the covers and see us for who we really are and what we have really done. And that goes for even ourselves. But when you go through and you know exactly what's on your credit reports, it's like having a feeling of accomplishment, like you got off that roller coaster and you know where it went down. You know all of the turns. You know everything. That's how you're going to feel when you know everything on your credit reports. As a matter of fact, what people say, they will say this to us. After I did that review, I have a sense of calmness. I have a sense of gaining power because I know 100% what's in front of me, and I know the next step, which is the game plan that your company, the credit repair shop, will put in place to be able to accomplish those goals. So now, understanding that you got to have a plan of action. And that plan of action is going to have failure in it. Now, before I get into what you're going to need to do to repair your credit, how you're going to have to look at the negative information specifically, I want to read something to you about overcoming failure. Remember, and this comes from the book Treasury of Quotes by Brian Tracy. Brian Tracy is a well-known motivational speaker. He says here, overcoming failure. Remember, you only have to succeed the last time. Incorrect assumptions lie at the root of every failure. Have the courage to test your assumptions. It is not failure itself that holds you back. It's the fear of failure that paralyzes you. And remember what I said. This is not what he said, but what he means by paralyzing is that the fear of what you believe, how you will fail because you don't know. Remember, you will only make assumptions that things cannot work, and that paralyzes you. But also what stacks on to paralyzing you is the information that I talked about that comes from all of these sources. When you're trying to accomplish something, you have to have a focus on having accomplished that goal. But just like Brian Tracy said, it is not failure itself that holds you back. It's the fear of failure that paralyzes you. Most people achieve their greatest success one step beyond what looks like their greatest failure. We have had people where we were repairing their credit and we were like, it was just like, in a sense, failure, 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 and then all of a sudden, success. There's like no rhyme or reason. I call it, and I'm going to get into this in a minute. I think that what happens when ultimate success with credit repair happens is that there's a click in the individual's mind, and I'm going to get into that in a minute because it's very important. It is almost just as important as you having good credit, because it will, when your credit is repaired, it will have you be able to move forward. So it says, never consider the possibility of failure. So when repairing your credit, never consider the possibility of failure. Don't quit. Keep working, because work is working, and it'll end up working for you. Until it works for you, it is working on you. And I'm going to get into that in a second. So never consider possibility of failure. As long as you persist, you will succeed. Failure is a prerequisite for great success. You have to go through failure to be successful. That's why so many people fail and quit, because they don't understand that failure is part of the process of success. If you want to succeed, double your rate of failure. So now, regarding your credit reports, it does not matter if it is negative information or positive information. That information must be fair to you the way that it is showing on your credit reports. And let me give you a quick example of a positive trade line or on your credit reports that is negatively affecting you. If you've paid your payments on time, and it is showing that your payments are made on time, but they do not accurately show the amount that you owe, that you still owe. You've been making payments, but your balances are not going off because someone in that office is not accurately putting in the data that you're paying down your debt, that you're actually paying down your debt. That can unfairly hurt your credit scores, because credit scores are based on an algorithm. And part of that algorithm is the amount of debt that you owe. So even if an item is positive on your credit reports, it could be negatively affecting you. So with all of your information, negative or positive information, it must be fairly showing fairly showing on your credit reports. It must be accurately descriptive about what you have done with that trade line. And it must be complete. It must show all of the history, all of the historical data for what it is. Not part here, part there. It should show it all, negative or positive, of that account, or some people, it is also considered a trade line. Now, the third part of this is, and I kind of alluded to it earlier, is that you're going to go through a process of healing, a self-assessment, a changing in the habits of what got you to have bad credit. This is where I believe what actually happens. Like, think about it this way. Have you ever had a conversation with a friend and you're going back and forth? You're talking about things that happen. This is a friend that you haven't seen for maybe 20 years. And then you get to talking and you're going back and forth. You're kind of catching up. But have you noticed when you talk with that friend that all of a sudden you are like back then and also to now? Like, it's just a connection that happens. And I believe that this connection also happens when it comes to credit repair. So let me explain. Remember, part of the whole credit issue, the credit repair process, has to do with what you've done in the past. And to move forward, to make sure you don't make the same decisions to get yourself back into that situation. I believe, this is my opinion, because I've seen this with myself and I've seen this with, especially with couples that are repairing their credit, is that when you decide that you have changed, like I know that I can't overspend. I know that I got to watch my credit card debt. I know that I got to pay attention to what's on my credit reports. I got to actually pay attention to my credit reports. Like, it's like looking at my bank account, because it actually is. It's just in the reverse, because if you have bad credit, you pay more for the same things that people with good credit pay less for. So it's like the reverse. You're spending money and you don't even know it. Like your money is going out the window when you have bad credit and you don't even know it, because you pay more. So when you have these problems where you can't afford your house payment, can't afford paying your rent, can't afford your car note, can't afford keeping up with your household expenses, well, that's because with your bad credit, you are paying more than what other people with good credit pay less for. So what I believe happens is that that person has actually changed. And it's like they're failing forward, working on their credit, then bam, all of a sudden stuff starts happening for them. And when we talk to them, it's like they've had a change in their life where they start to be more positive than having that negative feeling about their credit. It's like they've crossed over, in a sense, crossed over into a bridge of success, and where they've just like said, no matter what, I'm going to cut my ties with having bad credit. I'm going to cut those ties with those bad habits and start right now, moving forward. And it seems like when people do that, and the work that is happening with their credit, it's like it just meets. Like I said, those two friends that talked to each other in the past, talked about stuff in the past and caught up to what's going on now. It's like they meet. And the reason why they meet is because that's you. That's that new you. Yeah, that stuff that you did in the past is part of you, but it's in a sense like a new person now. And when those two friends talk with each other, when they catch up and they see what they're doing now, it's like they're like a new person, because there's a whole bunch of things that they didn't know in between. They didn't know all of that stuff. That's why they have to catch up. And in a sense, with your credit, all of that stuff, like I talked about in the first process of understanding what you did to get there, that is like catching up. It's because like all of those decisions that you made to get yourself into a situation with having bad credit, that's like the catch up. And then all of a sudden, that new you changes with those habits. Like just like with friends, there could have been some things that one of those friends were doing in the past. They're like, I've changed. I'm not doing that stuff anymore. Well, that same thing happens with repairing your credit. So if you need help with your credit, please visit us at thecreditrepairshop.com. Watch the video, what makes us different, so you can see my 8-point validation process and my 2-phase settlement process. We help you repair your credit from A to Z. If you need your credit reports and scores, go to the website, 3scores.com, to grab your TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian credit reports and all 3 scores. It's very important. It is vital that you understand everything that is on your credit reports, negative or positive information, furnishers, how it's sitting on your credit reports, everything. You need to know that regardless if you start a credit repair process. And if you have debt collectors coming after you early, grab my 3-pack of letters: statute of limitations letter, cease and desist collection activities letter, and debt validation letter. Use the one that's appropriate for your situation. Thank you for your time. This is Stephen A. Williams, President and founder of thecreditrepairshop.com.